Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Blunt Talks. Today, we got a good topic for you guys. We're going to be talking about how the price of an eighth can vary depending on where you're grabbing your cannabis, whether you're getting it from the black market or if you're getting it from a legal dispensary. All this stuff has a really big factor in how much a price of an eighth can vary. And from my experience, a price of an eighth can vary pretty differently depending on where you're getting the cannabis, the type of cannabis you're getting, whether it's premium cannabis or a middle or lower quality dispensary. I mean, there's a lot of different factors. So you can get an eighth from one dispensary in one state that might cost $10 for premium, really good cannabis. And then you can go to another dispensary in a different state and get that same eighth of cannabis, maybe even cannabis that's not that good, for triple, quadruple the price. I just wanted to talk about how the price of an eighth can vary and why the price of an eighth could vary so much. Before I get into this topic, I would appreciate if you guys could just leave me a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would highly appreciate the support for me, myself, and also the cannabis movement. From my experience as a cannabis consumer, and I've bought a lot of cannabis. I've bought in different states. I've been to dispensaries in my state. I've been to dispensaries in other states, and I've purchased a lot of black market cannabis in my life. I've also been a part of the black market because I've sold cannabis for large portions of my life as well. So nowadays, I think that I can say with pretty good accuracy that right now in America, I'm not even going to say in New Jersey, I'm just going to say right now in America, I think that the price of an eighth is going to vary between $10 for an eighth all the way up to $80 for an eighth. That is the gap that we're talking about. Anywhere from $10 to $80 for 3.5 grams of cannabis. That's what we're talking about. That's how much 1/8 of cannabis could run you in America nowadays. And it's such a wide gap, and it's so weird that you can walk into a dispensary in Illinois and get an eighth of premium cannabis for $11, but then walk into another dispensary in New Jersey and get that same strain of cannabis for $50, $60, $70. I just don't understand, man. I just don't get why it's like that. I'm starting to understand a little bit more and more that it's depending on, if the state that you live in is medical and recreational, or if you're just in a medical state, or if you're living in a state where there's no legal cannabis and you still have to cop off the black market. And in states like those, obviously those guys got the upper hand because they're the only ones holding the cannabis. But even other states that it's legal, it's affecting the states that it's still illegal, because people can just get it shipped or mailed from another state legally, or you got all these websites online selling this Delta 8, and they're figuring out how to sell legal cannabis that still gets you high. So the game is definitely changing drastically, but I just think it's funny how a price of an eighth can vary that much. Now I'm going to say, for instance, right, because I get cannabis off the black market, and I also go to the dispensaries and grab cannabis that way. So I can get right now an eighth of cannabis, good weed, not like really bad. I'm talking about good weed kind, but it might not be as good as what you're getting in the dispensary. It might be a couple notches below that, but still good. You know what I mean? Still gets you high, still smells good, still looks good, all that. You know what I mean? Maybe it doesn't look as good and it doesn't taste as good, but still gets you high all the same. For $20, man, I can get that right now. Right now, $20, maybe even less. Maybe we can go down to like 15 if I buy a whole ounce of it. You know what I mean? Or I can go into a dispensary, and we'll even give the dispensary the benefit of the doubt. I'll go into a dispensary on a day where they're running a sale, and I'll even get small buds because it's usually $5 or $10 cheaper for smaller buds versus the bigger buds. So I can go into a dispensary right now, and if they're running a sale, and if I get the small buds, the cheapest it's going to cost me for an eighth is $45. And I mean, that's a big difference, man. From 20 off the black market, that's pretty good weed, and then I go into a dispensary where I have to get small buds, and I have to catch them on a sale just to get it for around $45. Now, if I just walk into a dispensary on a regular old day in New Jersey, the cannabis is going to run anywhere between $45 to $65 an eighth. They even got eighths in New Jersey in dispensaries for $75, $80. That's why it's between $10 and $80 for an eighth of cannabis in the States, man. And it all depends on your geographical location. Now, there's people that'll jump on this channel and totally say, yeah, man, like, I'm on the lower end of that spectrum. I'm getting weed for $10, $15 an eighth, maybe $80 for an ounce of premium cannabis. And there's going to be people on the higher end of the spectrum saying, yeah, well, where I live, in my state, I'm getting cannabis for $50, $60, $75 an eighth in their dispensary. And black market prices are going to totally be different too, because if you're in a state where cannabis is still illegal and the only way you can really get it is through the black market dealers, they got the upper hand. They can hijack the prices. There's people that are probably paying 60 an eighth off the black market in certain parts of this country right now. So a lot of it depends on where you're at. A lot of it depends on the regulations in the state that you're in. It also depends on how built up the cannabis market is where you're living. If you're living in a state where the cannabis market is like really built up, it's been legal for a bunch of years now, we'll say like Washington State or Colorado. They were one of the pioneers. Cannabis has been legal for a long time. They got it all figured out, man. They are competing against each other, man. They got so many dispensaries, and the competition is so great that the prices have drastically dropped because everybody is trying to compete with everybody else. So one company opens up, and then they're going to start selling their cannabis for $5 less than the competition. And then another dispensary opens up, and then they got to try to beat their prices, and so on and so forth. And next thing you know, you got people that are selling cannabis for $10 to $15 an eighth just because there's so many different options in those states, because cannabis is such a big, huge company. There's a big market for it. And if you are there and you're competing like that, I mean, that's the best possible way for the consumer to be able to get the best prices. So it's going to end up like that everywhere. I mean, I don't think that any state is going to hold out for another 10 years before they legalize cannabis. And then once they do legalize it, 3 to 5 years after that, you'll start seeing the prices drop, more dispensaries open up, and more competition. So that's what I'm saying, man. So right now, in my opinion, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert cannabis marketer or nothing like that. But just from my experience and, you know, what I've seen in the cannabis industry, that's pretty much how much an eighth will run you, between $10 and $80 for an eighth of cannabis. And of course, factors are also gonna come into effect when you're buying an eighth, you know, depending on the type of weed it is. You know, there's companies that they sell premium cannabis, and they sell organic cannabis, and they don't use any pesticides on their cannabis, and it might cost more to grow, and it might take more, you know, manpower to grow and cost more money to grow. So obviously they have to sell that for more money. So there's obviously going to be a quality thing going on when you buy cannabis. But like I said, man, there's some strains in the same company, the exact same company, the exact same strain that you can get for $10 in one state, and then another state it'll be like $50 or $60. So it's nuts, man. I mean, legal cannabis right now is nuts. It's striving. It's gonna thrive even more as time goes on. And for the consumer, the smoker like me, and probably everybody that's watching this video, the prices will end up going down, especially if you're in a state where it's already legal for recreational and medical purposes. The more the dispensaries open up, the more competition that comes into play, the cheaper it'll get for the consumer. So that's all, man. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how much the price of an eighth can vary from your geographical location and the state that you're living in, the conditions, the quality, and whether you're getting it from a dispensary or if you're getting it from a black market dealer. There's going to be drastic differences in the prices that people pay for an eighth. And I just think it's crazy. And I would love anybody to drop their comments, man, and just let me know how much you're paying for an eighth in your dispensary or off the black market. I'm open to anybody dropping any comment. Just make sure that you're courteous in the process. Basically, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope this video was helpful. I hope that I shed some light on why prices for apes are so drastically different between one state to another, or one dispensary to another. And I hope this video was helpful, guys. I hope you guys liked the channel. Please subscribe. Please support Blunt Talks. I really appreciate that. Don't forget to drop a comment, stay lit, and have a great day, guys. Peace out.